I want to take a moment to begin this video and talk about this struggle we're having with this channel. It's really kind of the way that gun channels are interacting with Google and YouTube is affecting us, and it's affecting our ability to be able to produce content. So I want to take a moment and just ask you support us on Patreon, where a lot of the content we can't put here is going, and it supports this ministry. There's a biblical and scientific thing that revolves around giants. It confuses people. The Bible talks about giants, and where the giants came from, as we can see in Genesis 6. Now it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves, all whom they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not strive with man forever, for he is indeed flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of man came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them, those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. So ultimately what these are half human, half demons. The fallen angels bore children with women, and they gave birth to this race of Nephilim. Now, a lot of people ask, well, wait a second, because shortly after that, Noah, fled the earth, so these giants should be gone. But yet, Jude talks about that they are among us, specifically in the end times, that they will play a huge role in the end times right before Christ's return. And we can see that in Jude, starting in 12. These are spots in your love feast, while they feast with you without fear, serving only themselves. They are clouds without water, carried about by the winds. Late autumn trees without fruit, twice dead, pulled up by the roots. Raging waves of sea, foaming up their own shame. Wandering stars, for whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever. Now I'm going to keep going, but I'm going to pause there real quick. Those are the wandering stars, are the fallen angels. Those are, a ton of videos on that. But those are the fallen angels. And the way God punished them, according to Enoch, was he put them in this dark pit, and they're there until the day of judgment. Let's keep going. Now Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesied about these men, also saying, Behold, the Lord comes with 10,000 of his saints to execute judgment on all, to convict all who are ungodly among them of all their ungodly deeds which they have committed in an ungodly way, of all the harsh things which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. So ultimately, if you look at these two passages, you have in Genesis, here's this creation of these Nephilim. And then Jude is saying, well, they are among us until the end. So how'd they get there, and where are they? Well, those are great questions. Let's start by saying, I was a biology and chemistry major, and I taught biology and chemistry, and something you learn in high school biology is, basic kind of Punnett squared genetics. And ultimately, there's many genetic characteristics that just stay dormant. And they'll live in DNA from generation to generation to generation, and then they just show themselves. Now, the Nephilim weren't just giants. It wasn't that they were tall in stature. They were very different in many ways. They knew things. They were able to work metal before humans would, according to Enoch. And they just were brutal. They mutilated mankind. Very, very brute beasts that just didn't really care much for mankind at all. The more they could kill of them, the better, is how the Nephilim are. Now, well, how'd they make it past Noah? Well, you had Noah. Okay, so the Nephilim came 400, 500, 600, 700, maybe 1,000 years before Noah was even born. And that DNA would be spread. Just because they necessarily were giants or not doesn't mean that their DNA didn't spread. Now, well, then the giants pop up. If that's the case, then where are that characteristic would still show itself. Well, gosh, what the description of these giants are is they're 9 to 12 feet tall. But there was a race of giants in South America or Central America and southwestern United States around Lubbock, Texas. And they battled against the native Indians. And you could go to Lubbock Cave to this day where the last of them held up. And there was skeletons found there from 9 to 12 feet tall, sandals size 29, USA standard. I mean, so the artifacts are there. The skeletons are there. There was an old, if I can find it, I'll put in B-roll here. There's old video of a guy that was like 9.5 feet tall getting out of cars in New York City in the 40s and 50s. It just shows up every now and then. David killed Goliath, but not only did he kill Goliath, his men killed 3 other giants that were of that same people group, because apparently it was dominant in that particular people group. But it's not just the giant thing that makes the Nephilim. They are among us. There are people, just because they're not 9 to 12 feet tall, that are Nephilim, that are around among us right now. How do I know? Well, Jude told us they would be here. They are the race of demons. They are among us, and you have to know that they're there. And, again, let's just say, well, were there really giants? Maybe you're not a Christian. Again, there's skeletons, there's artifacts, there's graves, there's photographs of giants, there's video of giants. I mean, come on. 9 to 12 feet people were pretty, I wouldn't say common, but throughout the history of mankind, people were familiar with them. Some entire tribes were just mutilated by tribes of Nephilim. That's why God flooded the earth in the first place. This initial burst of Nephilim in Genesis, they mutilated mankind. If you read Enoch, it was a mutilation. So God destroyed the earth. But he didn't destroy the Nephilim, because that DNA, as long as somebody on Noah's Ark had that little tiny piece of DNA just hidden in them somewhere, that it just show itself later on in life. There it goes. It just shows itself. Another generation, another people, that pops up, that little bit of DNA. It's incredible, but it is real. You can't erase DNA. The only way you can erase a genetic trait is you got to kill all of mankind. But as we knew, some of mankind made it onto that ark. And some of mankind had children and then spread throughout the earth. So any thoughts or insight on any of that, definitely put it below. But they are definitely among us, and they'll pop up every now and then. Every now and then, you'll see it. Some people have genetic traits that you can't see. And sometimes those genetic traits, they show themselves. It's kind of the difference between a genotype and a phenotype. What is the physical characteristic? Just because your physical characteristic doesn't show it doesn't mean that the genetic trait isn't there. And maybe your offspring will have it, or their offspring will have it. And chances are the Nephilim, they probably know who they are. It's probably been passed down through generations, and some of them are very familiar with who they are. Just half demon, half human, but they are among us. Any thoughts or insight, put it below. If you like this video, click like and subscribe. Feel called to support this channel's Patreon. That link is also below. But the most important part of this channel is we take prayer requests. So please don't ever hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.